Sí, te escuchamos bien.
Alright. Bueno, porque estábamos teniendo problemas técnicos.
No, ahí sí se puede escuchar bien.
Ah,
Sí, ya
ya está.
está.
Ya entró.
Ahí sí.
Ya, está conectando. Ahí está.
Hola.
Hello, Niels.
Hello.
Hey, I
Hi.
think I'm through. Just a second. So,
Hi.
Hello.
hey,
Nice meeting.
good to see
Finally.
you.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nacovid number 8. Well, you can hear me well? Yes? Is this okay? Yeah, okay. So we'll start tonight with Eduardo Pérez Infante and Niels Gommsen. I'll talk about a bit about Naco. Naco is a critical space that burned in Mexico City in 2018. And in June of the last year, we decided to take this project to travel with us. And in this trip, we knew many awesome artists, and some of them we invited to create this program that is Nacovid, to talk about the quarantine and these times. Well, we developed some questions, and we invite the artists to share with us these topics in a format of a performance, a talk, an interview, etc. And that's what Naco Beat about. That's the eighth session, and it's here Eduardo from Chile, living in Montreal, who invites to Niels Gommsen in Denmark. So Gina and I are Naco, and Gina right now will make the presentation in Spanish too. Thank you, everybody.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Nosotros somos NACO Espacio Crítico, somos un proyecto de arte que nace en la Ciudad de México en diciembre del 2018. Desde junio del año pasado hemos traído el proyecto de viaje de Pata de Perro. Y pues durante este tiempo hemos conocido grandiosos artistas, gracias a otros grandiosos artistas, y pues bueno, ahora durante el COVID, el encierro, desarrollamos este programa que se llama Nacovid, y es un programa de 10 días en el que a artistas que conocimos invitamos a presentar su trabajo, una acción, un performance, una plática, lo que decidieran, para pues compartir y ayudar en estos tiempos para todos. Entonces, muchas gracias, bienvenidos a todos, welcome everybody, thank you so much for coming and participating. Eduardo.
Hi everyone.
It's not connected yet, Niels.
Is Niels here, around?
No yet.
Hola Raimundo.
No, no, it's not.
We'll have to wait for...
Okay, so we have Niels.
Yes, it's joining now.
Yeah.
We cannot hear you, Eduardo. Yeah.
Sound is not coming in, right? When I do this. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good. Okay.
So, is Niels around now?
Yes.
Yeah. Niels, are you ready? I know we don't have any way to communicate here vocally.
at some point, but I don't know. I can't hear anything actually.
I can hear you, Eduardo.
You hear us? You hear?
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Did you hear the music coming in, or it
Yeah,
was not coming in at the end?
Yeah, it was.
All right, that's great.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was really great. Yeah. You want to share some words about?
Niels? Do you
Just a
wanna-
minute. Just a minute. I have to switch camera here. Hey, good to see you. And sound is going through.
Sorry, Georgina. What did you say? Sorry.
And if you want to share some words about the video or about
Yeah,
your
maybe a
job in
little.
general, yeah.
Maybe a little bit of context. Niels, we met collaborating for a project from the university, and then he went back to Denmark, and then we kept in touch. Our interest is definitely like where we meet is definitely sound, and during these pandemic times, we've been talking about how we have been all forced to get used to new rhythms and yeah, that's the name. That's why the name is like how through these activities we cope with all these unknown routines. Like everything is being rewritten. So uh, these repetitive activities, this is some kind of compendium of these repetitive activities that, I mean, just a few of them that helped uh, our friends to cope with this situation. And so yeah, and then sound what we wanted to do. Maybe you can complete this idea, Niels. We wanted to explore this possibility of through these patterns of sounds too, but patterns of movements. How do we just speculating about ways of encounter through rhythms, through these new rhythms that are emerging these days?
Yeah, I think you're correct in all you say, and this way of following rhythm. I think that was the start of all of it. Not even knowing what we were going into, but try to work. Yeah, it actually started with some what do you call it, field recordings as a way to explore different sites in the city. So that was actually where we started, and then we took it further and experimented with these samples, fragments of sound through light coding environments and Eduardo's spaceship. So we had different ways of working with sound, experimenting. So yeah, it was very much about just exploring this sonic materiality, if you can say that.
Totally. And also, like, it has to, like, it this project in particular, like, it's like just how do you say it, like, what I've been doing these days is I found this wall right in front of my place where it's a school but it's closed, so I've been like putting out all of this energy that I need to get rid of, like, while I'm yeah, like, it's been a way for me to really cope with it. And so yeah, I guess everyone has been finding these new rhythms, and if we put some attention to sounds, then I don't know. We just wanted to explore the musicality of this condition, and this is actually a first exercise trying to do so and trying to collect a little like archive of videos of friends and people who are doing the same thing. So I think that's all I have to say at least.
Yeah, and also just these fragments of sound that when you just come, some interesting stuff come out of that. So even though it's not manipulated through different tools and code and so forth, it's the rhythms are interesting in themselves.
Okay, I think it's really, really an amazing work. I'm very excited and really thankful that you can share this with us. Anyone that is in the video call, will you like to make any comment or question about it? Okay, Lily?
Hola, Bilal.
Thank you for this.
You are muted. You need to unmute your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a question.
Your microphone. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. I just want to know if you were manipulating the sound while we were seeing the performance and the video, because I saw that you, Eduardo, you was moving. You have all your instruments there, and how was all the process? You took the sounds and you manipulate something in the process, that in your personal process, and now you are manipulating the another part, or how was
Right.
that?
So there's so what Niels is doing, he's live coding. He can explain you better what that is, but he's basically like manipulating samples
Yes.
by coding it.
Yeah.
So that's like real time or whatever you call it. And yeah, and every song was being like passed through this thing, and you have basically all types of sounds being manipulated, and I also have this little machine here, which is a sampler,
Okay. Yes.
like old school stuff. But also you can put stuff in there and manipulate it. So we have this more high-end sort of sample operation, but also this more like old school or analog way to do it. And yeah, that's it. And we had a few like sounds that did not come from the samples, but came from synthesizers and stuff like that.
Okay. And are you both in Canada, or Niels is where, and how was?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in at the moment. Yeah, I was visiting Montreal in relation to a research day, but now I'm back in Copenhagen. So yeah, we're trying to find ways to still be in the spaceship together, make music together. We call Eduardo's place the spaceship, so that's the word. Yeah, and just to add to your question before, what I'm doing is working with these samples that we got from friends and so forth, field recordings, and use them, just take parts of them out, for instance, a few seconds, so you can use them or work with them. So yeah, some of it, for instance, I have the sound of birds from one of the recordings. So what I do with that is almost change it into something that reminds me of synth. So, and then I can work with that as it was a synthesizer, transform it through code. So it becomes something else. And what that becomes in a live situation is it becomes somewhat unpredictable, because there's a lot of randomness and generative patterns into it. So yeah, you can say vibe coding in itself is a way of exploring patterns and also rhythms. You can say experiment with that.
And Niels, do you find any interesting on coding, like beyond the sound itself, in the information of the sound is, I don't know, how's the process? Have no idea that it becomes to a code and then on code, and I don't know.
Well, the process, well, it depends. Today I started with something that it's never really done because you know it changes all the time. But I could also have started from scratch, but I decided not to because it was only a short period of time. But normally I would start from scratch, and that's also where something really interesting happens. Or let's say when I start out, I would start with, I can hear, okay, this is the sound of a bird, but in 15 seconds, it sounds like a machine. So it's the process that's interesting for me, working with whatever comes out of it. So it's some, you're kind of building this small sound machine or something like that, algorithmic machine. So you can, perhaps relate it to making patterns like weaving or knitting or something like that. You have all these different layers going into each other. So it can be, the outcome is somewhat abstract.
Michelle, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, hi. I have a question. I have a question about rhythm, actually. And I'll try to make it technical because my reading, I'm not familiar with like the technical aspects of sound and video works, but is really transportive. But I was thinking a lot while watching the work that a lot of the actions kind of occupy this space between chore or leisure. So, exercise, cooking, domestic labor, all of these things in some times of my life feel like chores and responsibilities, and other times they feel like leisure or something that I can get pleasure from or escape from. And I think a lot of that is rooted in the rhythm of the action and time. So how much time I have to do it, how much time I have to take pleasure in it, which got me thinking about the rhythm of the work, which I find is quite like clearly like upbeat, a bit joyful. Like there is something surprising in it too. But for me, it really moves the work into this realm of leisure more than chore or responsibility. And I was wondering, just in coming up with the rhythms that you used in the sound of the work, like how much like was there like argument between you, or did you both naturally fall into like wanting to work with a similar rhythm? And was that rhythm really taken directly from the actions, or did you play around with it? Yeah, so
it's an interesting question. I would say that we would fight against rhythm in a way, like we would be really get hooked up in the punchy, like, and then we would, and that's you could say that that's like total leisure, like then rhythm takes over. So it's been like kind of struggling in a way against that like way, because then the beat becomes like suppress the rest of like the more subtle things. I don't know if I'm really answering at all your question, but that's because we never thought about it in this like two black and white terms. You're not suggesting that it is like that, but we kind of had to work hard to like not be taken away or taken over by the pleasure of rhythm in a way. I don't know if you had anything to add.
Yes, so not ending in like this classical techno rhythm, but we're constantly, it was like resonating between okay, we're trying to make something, finding a rhythm and searching for rhythm, or what do we call it? So we always ended up somewhere new.
And another aspect of this question, I think, is like, yeah, like when I was inviting people, it also feels like, yeah, it's like we cannot avoid the question of like privilege, and then we start to talk about like action in order, like action for fun or action for survival, which is like kind of very right there these days, like those who can, those who can't. And it's like yeah, it feels weird because like in this idea of, that's why we call it cope, like everybody copes however they they can. Actually, it's not like, so it's like, I don't know, like I feel, for example, that this very like shallow or superficial act of going and hitting the wall, it is like, yeah, it's pure pleasure, but at the same time it's like saving my ass from all, like, I don't know, like growing a belly like a future child during these pandemic days. Like it's been the way for me to hit the wall, like to really cope with it. And it's pleasure, but it's also like that other type of work with this, which is like deal with your uh, anxieties and all of that. So I think it's a super delicate and super interesting aspect of it. Like, what do we, oh, less than a minute to go. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Well, thank you so much, Eduardo. Thank you so much, Niels, everybody, for coming. Well, you can check online on social media, and we will do a special publication for each participation with information links. So also, if you have more to share about this project, you can also do a vote. So, well, thank you, everybody.
I just want to add, finally, if we have enough time, that if we look at their pizza, I've been thinking as a performance, like Iliana's yesterday participation, like why is different look a kind of performance in video and or in video call? But I think it's because in performance it's needed, it's necessary to have the body inside. So we are here like in front of our screen, right? So it's not like say a video. It's very boring. Actually, nobody's looking for a real video. But here is necessary to look to stay here present and as the videos interrupt us, right? So we know that we have 40 minutes. That's also another question very interesting. And with the rhythm as Code project, you're like and we have a big delay. So also it's creating another kind of imagination of time, that remember that time is very plastic. It's something very strange, and we all are having a really different conversation, really different